agenda is family-friendly residential section of design guidelines. Diana Kina will be presenting.
Yes, this is a proposal to add a section to the Emeryville Design Guidelines about family-friendly residential units. Projects, not just project units, and it has a history. Back in May of 2010, the City School Committee heard Humaira Yusufi's report from UC Berkeley on affordable housing in schools, and it said that family housing near a school improves student stability and performance, partly because the families aren't moving away all the time trying to find good housing. And then a month later, the housing element of the general plan was adopted, and it has a policy to promote housing designed to attract families, which it defines a little bit, and I'll talk about that some later. Emeryville Design Guidelines were adopted that year, and they have a little section on family-friendly housing, but we want to expand it. And what it has now is to have a variety of unit sizes, to have the units have direct access to courtyards and streets, to have soundproofing, good soundproofing, ample storage, halls for the kids to play in, and laundry facilities in the units. And then in January of 2011, MIG gave a presentation on fostering child-friendly housing and child-friendly city. And they had some pointers about design and amenities, and these have evolved into what you see tonight. Then in 2012, Economic Development and Housing intern Anna McCorvey put together a report on successful, affordable, family-friendly housing, and she addressed the neighborhood, the development project, and the unit design. And we have Catherine Firpo here from that department, and her request for proposals for the 3706 San Pablo Avenue affordable family housing included a checklist that was based on that report. And so that went to the council for approval in September of 2012, and it had the same three subheads as Anna's report. Then in February of this year, the planning regulations were adopted, and they have a table of bonus points. And there's one for family-friendly units, which are somewhat defined. And part of that definition is that they have to meet the family-friendly guidelines in the design, in the Emeryville Design Guidelines. And so I guess it was probably Catherine's department's initiative that we would like to have the guidelines they were using in this RFP crafted into something that would fit into the citywide design guidelines, and that's what we're bringing to you now. They became a little more easy to interpret, so kind of physical and specific, and a little bit less about approach, so that they'd be really easy to administer and more like a set of standards. So here's what we're proposing is of the existing 2 pages, we take the family-friendly part out. That part all gets sort of included in this, and we added a couple photos and rearranged those 2 pages. And then we added these 2 pages. This one's about site design. It says provide units with 2, 3, or more bedrooms. To get the density bonus, they only count for 3 bedrooms, but the project can have 2, 3, or more bedrooms. Units. Situate as many family-oriented units as possible adjacent to open space appropriate for children's play. That's what's in that top drawing, which I sort of cobbled from one of the RFP responses for 3706. Provide exterior play areas that are safe and visible from major spaces in the home with age-appropriate equipment. Design visible places where preteens and teens will want to gather. In larger projects, like if there's 100 units, consider dividing the project into sections where the residents have exclusive access to their common and circulation areas. So you might have 2 or 3 different villages in a big project. Provide visual privacy between units. Provide more bicycle parking than the code requires, with space for longer family bicycles and trailers, lockers for bicycle gear, a fix-it station, and ample views into the parking from common areas in the project. And then the bottom set of drawings are about this one. For units that are adjacent to common open space, provide access through transition spaces between the units and the common space. So basically you want a porch or something that sort of approximates a porch. And then about the units, provide high-quality soundproofing and enclose the entry foyers to reduce noise and increase privacy. Provide enough storage space. Provide wide hallways for indoor play, strollers, tricycles, walkers, and such. Provide windows that allow for supervision of children outdoors. You can see that in the drawing, little sliding glass door maybe. Provide distinct, adequately sized family dining areas and family living areas. In this example, there's 2 rooms. Doesn't have to be 2 rooms, but has to be room for both and without all the circulation happening across the dining table. Provide laundry facilities in each unit, and separate the bedroom and bathroom area from the living room, dining room, and kitchen area. Provide space that can change use as children grow, from like toddler play to homework to music making to gathering or whatever. And design units with infant and toddler safety in mind, such as stairs that can take a toddler gate, or no open stairs, or no glass room dividers. And so Catherine gave me some examples from the RFPs for 3706 of bad design and good design. So this is an example of how we can use these guidelines in real life. In this one, the bedrooms are separated by the public areas. And not only that, you have to go through the public areas. I can't tell if you do or not. I have to go through the public areas to get to the bathroom.
In the left one you do, in the right one you don't.
Yeah.
This is actually Parkside.
Oh.
This is not a proposal.
Oh, okay. This is not one of their proposals.
This is also Parkside.
Also Parkside. Really, this is a real unit. This entrance looks like it's into a bedroom. The unit entrance. It's into a private area. Here, the table is squished into the kitchen, and if you pulled out the chair, it would bump up against the stove or the counter. And the kitchens don't get a whole lot bigger as the unit sizes get bigger. And here, the dining table is in the middle of where the circulation is between all the doors. And this is good design for the site. There's a sandbox right outside the laundry room. People can watch the kids play as they do the laundry. And there's a teen room that's right outside of it are seating and a basketball court. So those are good examples of good adjacencies in the site plan. And this is an example of a good unit design. The bedrooms and the bathroom are over kind of in one area, and you can get to the bathroom without going through the dining, kitchen, living area. And there is ample dining room and ample living room. So as I was doing this PowerPoint and going through all these previous meetings and documents and making sure that we got everything in here, except one thing. So we would like to propose adding it at this point. And that is a community multi-purpose room. The general plan policy about family-friendly housing includes community rooms and multi-purpose rooms that can be used for after-school homework clubs, computers, art, or other resident activities. The MIG presentation included indoor playrooms that can accommodate multiple ages in a large space. Of course, we don't want to require little tiny projects to have one of these, so staff would like to know if you would like to add a guideline. It would fit at the bottom of the site design page. Provide a community multi-purpose room in projects with 30 or more units. So you can talk about that. And that was the end of my presentation until we got an email at 5 from Kyrie Tan, Commissioner Tan, who can't be here tonight. So I'd like to just briefly address her thoughts. She wants to make sure we still say that there should be units on the ground floor as we did in old J22, and that sort of morphed into the new J23, which says situate as many family-oriented units as possible adjacent to open space appropriate for children's play. So I think that addresses that. Windows with locking stops to prevent toddlers from climbing out of windows. That's a good idea, and it's easy to add to J48 where we have examples of how to have toddler safety. Low VOC finishes. There is a bonus point for LEED, and low VOC finishes are part of LEED, so I think that takes care of that. We don't need to do that here. Bedrooms don't have to be together. That might be true. Might be the parents want to have privacy and have some rooms in between them and the children's bedrooms. But the main thing is that you can get to the bed, from the bedroom to the bathroom without going to the living room where the parents are having a cocktail party while the kids are getting ready for bed. So we could add something to that saying that sometimes bedrooms can be separated, maybe if the purpose is to provide privacy for parents or older children, as long as there is separate access to a bath. So something like that. She also talked about adaptable units, and the planning regulations do give bonus points for universal design. So I think that covers that. So all in all, I think that what this adds up to is modifying J48 to add window locks and modifying J46 to clarify that sometimes the bedrooms can be separated. So now I am done with my report, unless you have any questions.
I have a question. So the most important part about this to me is that it's part of the incentives program. That these are sort of the guidelines that drive the incentive for family-friendly housing. And so I was hoping you could sort of remind us how the incentives program work. I know the points that you need are dependent on sort of the extent of the bonus that you're asking for, but I wanted to sort of go through that real quickly.
I did bring that page. Is it easy to do this?
Just hit input.
The int X button?
Yep. Hit it one more time. Just hit it one more time.
Okay, it's the middle one. So you get 2 points, oops. You get 2 points for each percentage of units that qualify as family friendly, and it's defined as 3 bedrooms, in-unit laundry, 15 square feet of common open space for each unit, amenities for children, teens, or seniors, in addition to the common open space that's required elsewhere, and it has to comply with the provisions of the design guidelines relative to family-friendly housing and be approved as part of design review for the project.
But what's the formula for the number of points required as a function of the incentive sought?
So a point is a percentage of the distance between the by right height, density, FAR, and the total that could be allowed. So
for each percentage increase that you're seeking, or for each percentage of that difference that you're seeking, you need 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, like for example, if you're in the 30 to 55 foot height district, then what we call the bonus increment, which is the difference between the bonus height and the by right height, in that case would be 25 feet. So you get 1% of that for every bonus point that you get. So if you want to add 12.5 feet to the height of your building, you would need 50 points, which is 50% of the bonus increment. Right? So in this case, you get 2 points for every percent of units that are family friendly up to a maximum of 50. So if you had 25% of your units were qualified as family friendly, that is met all these guidelines and all these other requirements, you get 50 points. So you'd get your 12.5 feet.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Okay. Catherine, do you have anything to add?
No, I do want to say that our intern, Anna,
Catherine?
Come on
Catherine,
up to the
microphone.
microphone.
she did produce a document that is the City of Emeryville, what we use for the affordable housing. So this is on the website, and we can make it available to you if you're interested.
And can I add, that has more in it than these standards and is a really good idea for anybody developing family-friendly housing to read. It's there, we kind of boiled it down to what we administratively could really, what you would put in standards. But it has more about the approach, and yeah, it's a good read.
There's also, in this document, there's issues around services provided. This is not just the physical. It's also the services that should be provided at the development.
So is there a way to include that document in the recommendations,
Maybe a reference to it?
referenced as a design guideline, or?
We took what was really definable from it.
Well, yes, but there's a number, you're saying there's a number of really good points there that were, just as a way for developers to additionally reference other ideas about family-friendly housing.
We
Is there a
could
way to
put it
include
as-
it in as a,
Like, we could put it as like a footnote on this
Yeah.
page if you would.
might be a good idea?
Yeah, the issue here is that these being design guidelines, they come into play when you're applying for these bonus points and when we're doing design review. When you approve a design review application, you have to make a finding that it complies with all applicable design guidelines. And we want to be careful that we don't incorporate this document by reference, so that then everybody has to not only go through the design guidelines, but also through that whole book and make sure they comply with everything in order to get their design review approval. But I think if we just list it as a useful reference, an FYI
that's
kind
all.
of thing, that
Yeah.
would be okay.
I have one other question. I wasn't clear about the intent of guideline J36. In larger projects, e.g. over 100 units, consider dividing the project into sections where residents have exclusive access to their common and circulation areas.
What's the purpose of that?
Yeah, I'm just not clear on the language and what it means.
One of the issues that came out of this document is that there's security issues. If you have a large population, if the entire population has access to every part of the development, that it's hard to control people coming and going, people coming to your door. And so the idea is that you create smaller areas in which only the people that live in those units have access to, and that it becomes, it's not just about security, but it's about forming community around those neighbors. And there's some issues around actually designing spaces for people who are going in and out of those units to meet their neighbors and talk to their neighbors and have that sort of community sense.
So, for example, if you had a building of 100 units, instead of having one courtyard that all 100 units accessed, you'd maybe have two that 50 units apiece accessed or something like
Right,
that.
or if all the units access one courtyard, there's a card key system that says, okay, the people who are going from this courtyard to these units can only get into these units, or only get into these units, or only get into these units. So the idea is that the circulation space might be designed so that there's smaller areas where people meet up within the smaller communities that you're developing. And yes, you could actually create your open space around those smaller communities if you want, or just make it so the access to the open space is more controlled.
Thank you. Diana, I guess I did have one other question. When you mentioned the community rooms, you wanted to add that in as a staff recommendation?
Right.
Is it in here? Is it in the?
No, I thought of it when I was preparing my PowerPoint.
Can you read it to me again? I just
Sure.
sort of
Let's see.
taking it all in there.
It would be a new J40 at the bottom of the site design section, I guess, and then all the ones under unit design would get renumbered. Did you?
Let's say,
Oh,
I think I wrote it here before I put in the PowerPoint.
provide.
That provide a multi-purpose community room in projects with 30 or more family-friendly units. Thank you, Arlie.
Great.
Well, that would have to be broken down by age group somehow, wouldn't it? Or it would have to be staffed in some way?
Well, it's a question of how much we want to get into that at the design approval stage. If the room is there, then the HOA or whoever can decide how they want to use it.
Right, so in this design, right here is a community room next to the laundry. And outside of the community room, you can see there's a spot for seating. So that's what referring to.
Great.
It's one of the proposals.
Any other?
I have a couple of, public hearing. It's a public hearing.
Yeah. Are there any other questions? Okay, so I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here from the public wishing to speak? Please come up. You have 3 minutes to speak, and when you're done, could you sign in for us?
I'm a little hesitant to speak tonight because I feel
China, please.
somewhat awkward now. I'm part of a team that is a finalist in the site at MacArthur and San Pablo. But I came to really talk about the design guidelines.
And excuse me, you are?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Mike Piatak. I'm an architect with 45 years experience, nearly all of that with family housing and nearly all of it for low-income housing in low-income neighborhoods. And I was tapped in 2010 when you had that report being done. One of the 2 projects in that report was one of our projects out in East Oakland that was held up as a good example of what should be done for family housing. And when I got the guidelines, really as part of the package for that competition, I saw some voids, missing pieces that are really very important for family housing. And I would be glad to share that with you after this competition is over, so that there's no conflict of interest on this. But there are some aspects of family housing that did not make it into those guidelines that I think are extremely important. We can't really package families into the same building types that we do for seniors and for singles and couples. It's a different building type, quite a different building type. And the unit types are different too. And those of us who have experienced this, when we see some of the unit plans that are being compared as good and bad, we have the opposite reactions to what staff was saying about what's good and bad. So I do think it needs a little more closer examination, because you're going to be applying these to projects that could cause a lot of consternation by those who've been doing it for decades. I would suggest, as an alternate for people like myself who really need to be recused from this, an architect who works for HUD, Ron Bedford's been doing it for years. He used to do it also for CHFA, review unit plans and advise developers and their architects on what really works and doesn't work for families. He's about the best pro I've ever seen at this stuff. And he's in HUD, so it's kind of a real arm's length removed from any private sector stuff. So that would be a good example of somebody whose opinions you might want to tap before you finalize this and concretize it as a policy. Those are my comments.
Thank you.
You sign in, please.
Yeah, could you sign in for us? That'd be great. Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Commissioners? Thoughts?
I have a couple of comments. On guideline J32, it's just sort of an odd construction. Provide units with 2, 3, or more bedrooms, which saying 2 or more bedrooms would mean the same thing and just would make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I would like to note is that I think it was the City Council, when the new planning regulations were adopted, this bonus for family-friendly housing, as you may recall, previously said 2 or more bedrooms with an average of 2.5 bedrooms, and the council changed that to 3 bedrooms. They just wanted to be a straight 3 bedrooms, period. So you don't get the bonus points unless you have at least 3 bedrooms. So I don't know if we want to modify this guideline to just scratch the 2 and just say 3.
Yeah, 3 or more.
Okay.
Does that make sense, now?
And then my other comment is actually on the residential guidelines. J26 says design ground floor units to include windows that face onto the street. At the same time, ensure the privacy of residents by considering the interior floor height, window height, and other design factors. And I think that's great. I was actually this is like a really important issue for me, and coincidentally, I was just discussing it, this very issue with a principal from MIG this afternoon, and I think that this is great. I mean, the intent of this is right on the money. I would strengthen it a little bit. I think the important thing here is that the residents inside the unit have visibility of the street while sort of minimizing the visibility, well, providing perception of visibility from the street into the unit, but minimizing the actual visibility into the unit. So you have large windows on the street, but you can't look right into someone's living room or someone's bedroom or whatever the space is. I think especially on busier streets, that's really important. So I would strengthen it to say something along the lines of sort of maximize the visibility of the street from the interior of units while minimizing the provide windows facing the street that maximize visibility of the street from the interior of the unit while minimizing or maximizing privacy and minimizing the view into the unit from the street, or something to that effect.
You can actually do that pretty effectively with Venetian blinds.
That's
that's another.
That's what I have in my house. You know, you tilt them a certain way, you can see out, and they can't
Right.
see in.
Yeah, I find that more often than not, people just leave the blinds closed all the time. So it does. I think there are a lot of window coverings that really hinder the goal of this, and I think the aim of this is to really provide windows where you know from the street, so the floor height is higher, and when you look in the window from the street, you're looking upward to the ceiling of the unit or that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
Well, could we also promote stoops and setbacks like we did in the olden days? Just to play upon Jane Jacobs in the eyes of the street. If you want to provide space for people to congregate and people to actually sit and converse with neighbors, I think the street wall and setback is really important, and that could add a little level of security as well.
We did that at elevation 22, and also to the annex to the place where Sean lives, and I've never seen a soul out on any of those stoops.
That's sad. I wish they did that at Glass House.
Policy J30 does say provide visual interest and improve quality of life for inhabitants through use of stoops,
I see the
porches,
stoops.
recessed windows, bay windows, and balconies.
I like that.
I would note.
Worked.
It's there.
Okay.
It's in there.
Okay.
The reason that we included this section, the residential, is just to illustrate what it would look like after that one guideline was deleted from it.
Mm-hmm.
The main focus is the new family-friendly guidelines.
I had a couple of comments. I thought it would make sense to put J37 about visual privacy between units back into the all residential, because I think it's important for all residential, and the same with J39 for units that are adjacent to common open space, provide access through transition spaces. That and the graphic that goes with it are something that I think is just a good design feature for anybody's unit that's opening onto common space. And on the residential, where the picture was swapped out with the landscape walkways, I'd like to see a picture that has actually a better landscape walkway, because I don't think this one works very well.
You have an idea of one in Emeryville?
I'll look. But this one, this one is just, it closes in, it's got hiding spaces, it's not working very well.
I added a couple photos because when I took the section on family-friendly housing out, I had like one photo more than would fit on a page, and I was trying to fill up the pages.
Is that
I'll
blue
look for
star
another one.
corner, that image?
What?
Is
No.
that blue star corner, that image? No? Is
No, it's,
No,
but that's a
it's-
thought, that might work.
Yeah.
That one is better.
Yeah.
That one is better.
It doesn't have to be an Emeryville.
This is elevation 22.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is that Paseo thing.
yeah, that Paseo thing. And I would be, I think that family-friendly housing is something that we have not done well, that we need to do better, and I would be interested to find out if there are really differing opinions about what should go in here. I would be interested in putting this off for another period of time to get a little bit more input so that we do it really well, because I think it's a really important part of our guidelines.
Well, I think part of it is economic, that this family-friendly housing is very nice, but it costs more money to build. Therefore, the unit is more expensive to rent or to buy. And the only successful family housing that we've really built is low-income affordable housing. And I'm on the housing committee, and we reviewed 9, or I think it's 9, or is it 11? 9 submissions that have been made for that site at MacArthur and San Pablo last night. And they go all over the place, but they're actually, most of them are very interesting, done by very knowledgeable affordable housing developers. And that's the real potential for this sort of thing, I think. That the market rate units are going to be pretty tough for family housing.
Well, it's still, if the people are interested in getting their bonuses and want to include family housing for that reason or whatever reason, or maybe they just would like to see our community be more balanced,
Well,
I think we should have good guidelines.
You can't have 1-bedroom units and 3, you can't have families living adjacent to single people, because the noise and problem becomes an issue. That's
Well, then things need to be designed appropriately.
Yeah, right.
That's
There has to
up
be
to
a
the
certain separation.
That's up to the architect. Yeah. I would second that we, if we were going to be seconding anything, but that we contact maybe even Ron. What was it, Ron Bedford, or someone at HUD, or just have it vetted by another party. I think that would be a great idea.
Okay, so continue it and bring it back in a month or two after we've consulted with
Yeah.
others. Yes, thank you.
And I had one other little comment on the new desirable pictures on the page 65. I think we should take out the corner treatments and other architectural features provide attractive design picture, and maybe we could do a better one there. Doesn't even have to be in Emeryville. It's just a thought.
That's where Sean lives.
What's the other one?
And you don't like my building.
Oh, this one.
Looks like a prison tower.
You don't like Sean's building?
Oh. I do not. Anyway, that's just my opinion.
People don't like my building either. I would also just add the provide a community multipurpose room, add that in there. I think that really makes sense.
Yes.
And also on J48, include the window stops for toddler proof or resistant windows or something like that.
Yeah, I would support all the additions that folks have mentioned. Have you guys been writing them down? Yes, excellent. And I would, I think the staff's recommendations for a community room as well is great.
I have one more, actually. I would add to J40, I think soundproofing is really important, and I would add language that it should surpass the existing building code requirements for soundproofing, because I think they're more frequently than not inadequate. And yeah, I also want to thank the speaker that we had for sharing his thoughts, and it's good to have sort of more thoughts on this, I think.
Yeah. Important. Any other comments? Okay, so I move that we postpone making a decision and get some more input.
Fine, okay. I think you can direct that.
Okay, I'll just direct it. We're good then. Right. Are there any commissioners have any comments about Great, all right, well, pretty excited to see if there's any changes in this family-friendly housing, because it is so important, and, you know, design is people first, so this is where we are looking to head with the building of our new school, et cetera, so I'm hoping for even more input. I think that would be great, and thank you all for coming tonight.
And thank you for your efforts on this so far. I mean, we really,
Yeah.
it's a good start.
Yay. All right, meeting is adjourned.